Now I'm going to review databases. Let's look at some past paper questions. So here we have picture gallery owner has decided to set up a database to keep information about the pictures they ask for sale. The database is named picture here. And we see the field names, title, artist, description, catalog number. So first of all, we look at the data types for the following fields. It's worth 4 points. So we will say text rather than string when we're talking about database. The description can be text or memo. Memo is just text, but more text. So I would stick with text for all of these. Auto number is a number that automatically increments, but you probably won't need to know that. This will be fine for this. Size, number. Price could be number, but there's also data type in databases called currency. Arrived is going to be date. There's a data type called date. And a boolean is often referred to as yes, no. But in this case, you can get away with boolean for that. We look for the primary key, which field, and that's going to be catalog number. Catalog number is going to be a unique number, a unique field which will identify the entire record. So now we're going to look at validation check that we can perform on these fields, and the validation check is going to be for the unique field. We can do a format check, but more likely for a unique field would be something like a presence check, because that means it's mandatory, it's required field. Just like when you sign onto a website, your email address is required and you can't proceed without entering one. We can do a uniqueness check to make sure it is a unique ID. So once again, if one already exists, the same catalog number already exists, then it has to be unique. And then there's a length check. We do this sometimes if we do a password. It has to be 6 characters, so we check the length that it's at least 6 characters. And for the rest of them, size, price, and arrived, these are all numbers, so we can do a range check on numbers. Arrived is a date, so we can do a format check to make sure it's day, day, month, month, year, year. And presence check if they're required. And type check. Any of those are available. So let's look at this. We have the grid below, the catalog number, the title and price of all unsold pictures by the artist Twister. So we're asking to show the catalog number, title and price. So the first thing is to put the table name in this row for the table. So we look over here, it's uppercase here, that's picture, that's the name of the table. So put the table name in, because these are marked, there's 5 marks awarded, they're marked by columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you must have the table name in, because even if you had everything else correct, you would get 0 marks for that. So it's vital that you get that. Now we put in the field names of the fields we wish to show, and we tick these to get full marks for that. These two we do not wish to show, so they remain unticked, but we include these because we're using them for our criteria. And the criteria is that the artist name equals Twister, so equals, and it's a string, so I can use quotes here, and that sold is equal to false. Moving on. Another question here. A motorboat hire, this is from a different paper. Motorboat hire company decides to set up a database to keep the following information about boats. Here's our field names once again, and a little bit of information that helps you determine what data type they will be. So again, what data type are they? So we have boat name and model text, engine power is going to be number, number of seats will be number. The life raft, again, is Boolean, we could say yes or no, answer. And the price is going to be currency or number, either of these is acceptable. Again, we have a validation check on databases. So we can have a presence check, presence check, presence check, presence check. We could have, so that's valid for any of them. Type check. So whenever it's so boat name could be a type check. Yep. and format check for a model. That means the model would be in a particular format. Perhaps it might be 3 letters followed by 2 numbers for the model, if there's a particular format that it would follow. And we could check the length. It's conceivable. A drop-down box means that this is a check. It's a validation rule that means you check between a range of available answers. So you'd have a drop-down box with all the different models available, say 5 different models. But I would just stick with the format check, type check, and presence checks, length checks. They seem to be the most common. Number of seats, definitely a range check there because it's a number. When you've got a number, you can do range check. And the price, you can do range checks on price. Moving along, then we get the query question. So once again, here are the fields here. So what we're asking for is, we need to remember uppercase here is the boat. So as I stated in the past one, we make sure that the table is boat, because once again it's 5 marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 per column, and if you've got boat in here, then you can get your marks. If you leave this out, you'll get 0 marks. So we have the table name in, and it's asking us to, I recommend that on an exam you go through this with a highlighter or a pencil and circle it, but make sure you've got all of the fields, and it says show the boat name, model, and day, price. So therefore, these 3 fields, you put the 2 3 fields in and you tick show on each of them, and that's 3 marks right there. Now the last 2, it doesn't ask you to show, but we use it for the criteria. So where the number of seats equals 4 and the engine power is greater than 100. So far, in the last 2 examples, we haven't been asked to sort anything. If we are asked to sort something, we might sort it by ascending or descending order on a particular field, but we haven't had that yet. Moving on to the next one. So this is the third paper. So let's look at this. Here's the field names in the top row. Each individual item of data is referred to as a field. An entire row is known as a record. That's a record on bungalows, a record on apartments, a record on a house. So this is asking us the number of fields in each record. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields, and the answer is 7. Here we go, the same property database. It's asking which one will be used as the primary key. Well, you can see from the data that the brochure number is not repeated. And usually if you've got a sports club number or something ending in number, it's going to be the primary key. Sometimes you'll be asked to which thing you would use for a primary key. If there's not an obvious primary key, you can just add one. And the primary key uniquely identifies each property. That's your reason for choosing it. Uniquely identifies each property. Again, data types. So we've got Boolean for the garage. You can see from that the garden and garage are both yes or no, so that's Boolean. I'm sure you could get away with saying yes no here also, because that's a data type in databases. And number of bedrooms, and this one we've got number, single, real, or currency. I would stick with currency for databases and number here. Let's move on here and look at the query. So in this case, what they've done is they've actually given you a query by example, and you have to look at the table and work out which records to be returned. So on this one, I might be inclined to go down and look at house. If I was doing this one on an exam, I would highlight the houses, these 2 rows, and these 2 rows here. Then I look at greater than 2, so then I go to number of bedrooms, and I would highlight all of the bedrooms in these 2 rows that are greater than 2. That's what this one, and this one. So now I'm down to 3, and then I look at number of bathrooms greater than 1. Bathrooms greater than 1 on the ones that I've already highlighted would be this one and this one. All the rest are not greater than 1, and that gives me these 2 here. Now you need to be careful. You've identified the correct rows, but what are they asking you to show? And they're asking you to show the price and the brochure number. So we've done the identifying here, but these are not ticked. You're not being asked to show them. This is what's ticked, and it says show what would be output. So the only thing you show is the price and the heading. Now look also that this one is sorted in ascending order by price, so therefore this record comes first. if we look in our original database, this record actually came before that one, but we sorted them around the other way because we're using an ascending sort by price. Okay, and then what they ask you to do on this one is they ask you to go ahead and create, they give you a question, database property. So show the prices of properties for sale, the features of each property, and they show you the database here. So once again, it's uppercase, so this goes into your query, property, that's the table name, and we have to show the property type and the price where the property has garage, so that equals true and the price is greater than 2,000. And we're also showing the brochure number. And to the next one. This is another past paper. Database marks set up to record the results. So once again, here we go. That's the name of our database, marks in uppercase. So here what we do is we give the number of fields. So we just count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields. And which one's going to be unique, class ID. And it uniquely identifies. It's almost identical to that other question. Uniquely identifies it. That's what a key field is, or a primary key. So we have the marks database again. And just like in the past one, they give the query by example and they ask you what the output would be. Show what the output would be. So let's look at this. We've got the student name. So that's the only thing that's showing, and it's in ascending order. Then we've got our criteria. In this case we have where the history marks are greater than 60 or geography marks are greater than 60. And I would be inclined to go over here and again use a highlighter for the criteria. So I would use a highlighter for all history marks greater than 60. So we come over here, we've got 1, 2, and all geography marks greater than 60. And we've got over here, we've got 1. So therefore we've got 2 names, and you have to get it in the correct order to get the marks for that. Remember, this is OR. If it was AND, then I would put it here and here, and that would be different because then you'd have to have both history and geography greater than 60, but this is OR. So again, we're asked to complete a query by example grid, and marks goes in here. I've emphasized that before, where we're greater than, less than 40. The marks are less than 40 in English, and there's my and, so therefore it goes in here, and my marks are less than 40 in English and maths. If it was OR in this operator, then it would go down here, 40 and 40. That would be the OR, but we're ANDing it, so it's 1 here and 1 here. And we're only asked to show the student names, so we tick this one. There's no requirement to sort in this one. And that's it. The rest of it is just, on this particular thing I pointed out that part B, on most of the papers that I've looked at so far, is about 30 points. And 30 points alone in component 2 is enough for an A. So if you can get all of 2, you can get close to the A grade boundary. But of course we want to get both A and 2. Part A and Part B, as many points as possible.